Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be starting the meeting here in 2 minutes, so if you wouldn't mind taking a seat. Also, if you're here this evening and wishing to provide public comment, down here to the right near the stairs, there's a podium with a pen and a sign-up sheet. We ask that everyone please sign up in advance of public comment. We'll make this comment a couple times throughout the presentation for those that come in late, but if you're wishing to provide public comment, please comment over. Sign your name, print legibly at the podium over by the stairs. We're going to be starting in 2 minutes. Thank you. Time is now 6:11 p.m. I'm calling to order the special meeting of the Warwick School Committee, Tuesday, January 6, 2026. At this time, I would kindly ask Superintendent McCaffrey to handle the roll call.
Call to order. Mr. Galligan.
Present.
Ms. Hazelwood. Here. Ms. Kirby Chapman. Mr. Wiggins. Here. Mr. Testa.
Here.
5 present. We have a quorum. Thank you, Superintendent. If everybody willing and able would please rise and face the flag at the front. Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one matter of business before us this evening, discussion, public/open forum on new high schools project, along with a public question and answer session. Before we get going, I just want to first thank members of the project team, specifically Left Field, our OPM, Dimio, our construction manager, Sicosio and Associates, and SOM Architecture, both of whom designed Tollgate and Pilgrim High Schools. I also want to thank and welcome Mayor Frank Picozzi and members of his administrative staff, Chief of Staff Facenti, and his Director of Finance, Lynn Proger, all of whom are with us this evening. Following the presentation on the new high schools, there will also be a few remarks on the $50 million school and recreational bond that is coming before voters on February 3rd. Prior to us getting into the update on the new high schools, there was one error made with regards to the public comment portion of the presentation. It stated that individuals would be respectfully limited to 3 minutes per person, with public comment not to exceed 90 minutes. That was supposed to read 5 minutes per person. So if my colleagues would please entertain, I would like to make a motion to amend the rules to allow for 5 minutes per person, not to exceed 90 minutes, with time to be evenly distributed amongst speakers if there are greater than 18 speakers.
So moved.
Made by Ms. Hazelwood.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wiggins and
Second.
Mr. Testa. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. It has now been amended. For those in the public this evening wishing to speak, down here to the right by the stairs, there's a podium with a sign-up sheet. Please print your name clearly so that way we can pronounce it at the time of public comment. Again, public comment will be following the presentation. At this time, I now turn it over to our owner's project manager from Left Field, Mr. Chris Spiegel, for the presentation on the new Pilgrim and Tollgate High School.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Spiegel. I'm a project executive with Left Field Project Management. We are an owner's project management firm that specializes in school construction, specifically high schools. With me today, I have my colleague John Bates, senior project manager, who is running these projects directly. And of course, we have the larger project team represented over there. If you guys could just raise your hands. The project team is here in case there's any technical questions that we might have. We have architects, engineers, mechanical experts, just really everybody that you could imagine for technical questions. So tonight we have a very brief agenda because I know that the main focus of this is to hear from the public. We're going to be talking about construction progress, our project cost, benchmarking, timeline, value management, the guaranteed maximum price, and final forecast. The reason for these slides is to tell you how we have come from that previous October meeting when we first discussed the potential overage for this project to where we are now, and to talk about our confidence in our cost forecast as we move forward through this project. After we wrap up that section, we'll go into some design perspectives. We'll talk about the athletic alternates that will be funded if this bond is approved, and we'll open it up for a Q&A. So the first thing we'd like to do is talk about the construction landscape. Here before you, these are all high schools. These are all schools recently that have been awarded, and you can see at the end of 2021, the average cost was $506 a square foot. 2022, it was $600 a square foot. At the end of 2023, $646, and at the end of 2024, $733 a square foot. They are predicting for Q4 25, Q1 26, an average of $820 a square foot. So that's the construction landscape. This data has been compiled by the Massachusetts School Building Authority with input from the Rhode Island projects. And what it really shows you is how the impact that we've had in the last 4 years coming out of COVID with inflation and specifically with the cost of construction for public facilities in these last 4 years. So this is what we've been competing against throughout this entire project, working to deliver a project that has all of the educational program requirements that you all voted on when you approved this bond originally, to make sure that we can incorporate those into this school project. Having said that, we pointed out some Southern New England high schools that have been awarded recently. These are all their guaranteed maximum price number. So that's an important term that we're going to get into a little bit later. But a guaranteed maximum price is a contract that we sign with the builder, Dimeo in this case, which essentially states that they are going to build everything in the design for a set number. That's a critical component of this, a guaranteed maximum price. And that is one of the key differences between now and what we had when we came before this group 2 Octobers ago. As you can see, back in 2024, East Longmeadow High School, Diamond Regional Vocational Tech, Wakefield Memorial High School, all increasing up to our Warwick High School right here at $765 a square foot. Neshoba Regional, just before us, was at $953. South Kingstown High School is at $759. Stanford High School, $767. Agawam High School at $798. And then it increases from there with South Shore Vocational Tech, projected to come out at $892. North Attleboro High School coming at $1,031. And Lexington High School, which just went out to the voters at $1,200 a square foot. So as you can see, with an average of $829, in our Warwick program at $765 a square foot, we believe you are getting an exceptional value for the cost of this project. So what is our total project budget made of? $373 million is our worst case scenario, and I'll get into why we are so confident about that 373 in the next few slides. But what makes up that 373 is 84%, which is our construction hard costs. These are things like steel, concrete, equipment in the buildings, and the labor to install all of these appurtenances. That $314 million is our guaranteed maximum price. We have signed that. The school committee has approved that, and we have signed that. We're looking at 12% of our project are soft costs. These are things like furniture. These are things like design services, commissioning services, project management. That makes up about 12% of our project costs. And we currently have a 4% contingency, which is $15 million of cash built into this $373 number. In terms of where we're looking at in benchmarks, the 12% soft costs is 8% below the RIDE benchmark. What does that mean? It means that you are getting 8% more value into your hard costs than is typical of a RIDE project. So it's better value, more money is going into the buildings, and less money is going into soft costs. And we also have a 4% construction contingency at $15 million, which is 1% below industry average, and we're being aggressive with that extra 1% because of some of the items I'm going to lay out here in a second. So included within this 84%, this construction number, are a construction contingency, separate from our owner's contingency, allowances. Allowances are items of risk that we as the project team have identified, and we have set aside money in case those risks are realized, as well as holds. Holds are items that we know are going to happen. We didn't have an exact cost for that at the time the GMP was signed, so we had a placeholder cost for it. That's what makes up this $373 million worst case scenario. So where's the project moved? Just on a quick timeline. In September of 2021, when the stage 1 was approved by RIDE, the budget was set at $350 million. When we came back before you in October of 2024, we were at the design development phase, meaning the drawings were about 50 to 65% complete. They were not complete. They were getting there, but we weren't where we are today, which is January of 2026, when we have a guaranteed maximum price, which brings our worst case scenario to $373 million. So the main questions that we'd like to answer with this presentation is, how did you bring that price down from 387.8 to 373? What safeguards are built in to that 373 number to manage the risk? And what is a guaranteed maximum price, this term that I've been using? So first, let's talk about value management. These projects have had to be substantially redesigned in order to bring these projects in as close as we can to budget. This is the original schematic design plan for the tollgate school, and this is the redesign plan. This redesign plan has saved significant amounts of money, and it was developed because we identified risks on the project that would have been very expensive, such as wetlands and adverse soil conditions. So if we look at the original SD plan and the redesign plan, all of the spaces are there. All of the spaces are mainly the same size, but we figured out a more efficient way to design and build the new tollgate school. That's saving you a ton of money on the project, and it allows us to invest in other areas. So this is a great example of how we have been bringing the cost down. So it's important to note, again, no impact to educational program. These projects have been approved by RIDE. They would not be approved by RIDE if we made changes to the educational program. We have eliminated an enclosed courtyard. We've reorganized the layout to simplify the column grid. That's a great example of how our project partner Dimeo has added value to our team, as they said, Chris, there's a way to build this a little bit cheaper with the same project elements. This is how you can do it, and we incorporated that into the building. And we increased the third floor, which allows us to reduce the building footprint. When you reduce a building footprint, it's less foundations, it's less soil work, it's less runs for your electrical and things like that. So this plan was able to save substantial money while still keeping all the original pieces in place. And this is one of the ways we've been able to bring the cost down. Let's take a look at Pilgrim. So Pilgrim, same thing, not as dramatic a change, but these changes that we have had in these buildings, this plan right here, a savings of $30 million through tweaks that we have been able to find in terms of building efficiency and constructability that did not sacrifice educational program, but was able to drive the cost of that project down. What are some other ways that we've been able to bring the project down? Again, it's not about educational programming, it's about finding ways to build this more efficiently. So here's an example of one of the original window detailing during the SD phase of the project. You can see that what we have currently owned as part of our budget is a much simpler way of building the project. The material selection, the quality of the construction has not changed. It's just working with our project partners, we've been to identify a much more efficient way of building, therefore it costs much less. Less time on a job, less details on a job, makes it simpler for the subcontractors to build and saves us money. Here's another example of some of the things we've done. There's a savings of approximately $7 million by minimizing expensive basement level construction by relocating the marine trades welding program into a pre-engineered metal building and moving the woodworking program to an upper level in the high school building. It doesn't look like a lot on paper, but it was a savings of $7 million over the course of the project without any compromise to the educational programming. Another example here at Pilgrim, there's a pre-existing building over at the Pilgrim site, and it was determined early on in the project by a member of Warwick's capital project team that that building would be viable to provide athletic support spaces for concessions, lockers, and restrooms. By us making that change, we saved approximately $5 million. This is the type of work that the project team has been doing since October, identifying any possible way that we could shave money off the cost of this project without sacrificing any of the components of the building. So, what is a guaranteed maximum price? A guaranteed maximum price, or a GMP, is the highest total cost Warwick will pay for each school as we have designed them. Dimeo has committed to delivering these projects at a fixed price, or GMP. That is a legal contract that we have with them. Warwick will not pay more than the GMP unless additional scope is added back into the project. That's key. GMP includes open book pricing, including construction contingencies, which I'll get into in a second, allowances, holds, and alternates. Alternates are a piece of scope of the project which we have designed, which we have a price for, but we were not going to pull the trigger on that alternate to make sure we don't go over budget until we have funding secured. So that's another important thing to remember as we go through the project. It's important also to note with this GMP contract that we have signed, Demio has assumed all financial risk for estimating errors, subcontractor performance, inefficiencies. And 3% of that guaranteed maximum price that I told you about is a construction contingency. So again, it's separate from that $15 million. So 3% of that hard cost price is strictly for construction contingency items only. So what does this all mean? It means that this guaranteed maximum price is not only a contract between Warwick, or Warwick School Department, Warwick, and Demio to build the buildings as designed, but it provides a risk management tool to ensure that any financial risk associated with building the project that are outside of our design scope are not borne by this project. So I'm assuming probably maybe a handful of people in this room have maybe built an addition on their home, or maybe renovated a bathroom or done a kitchen or something like that. If you have, you most likely worked with a general contractor. A general contractor will go get a bunch of estimates from sub-consultants, the people that actually build it, and they will mark up those subcontractor costs to pay for and essentially make their profit off of that markup, their supervision. This is not. This is called construction manager at risk. And the main difference is that where a general contractor, I'm not entitled to see the pricing from subcontractors. Every single price for any element of this project has been discussed and approved in a public meeting of the school committee. All of our RTAs have been public. You can see everybody who bid on them. You can see exactly what their prices are. The construction manager does not make a fee by marking up the work. They charge us a flat fee for this job. If it goes over, if it goes under, they're still charging us the same fee. So they don't have a financial incentive for this project to go over. That's a critical component of the difference between a GMP and a general contractor project. So, what is contingency used for? Two contingencies. What is owner's contingency used for? Contingency at its largest at the beginning of the project and decreases as the project progresses. So when there are more risks, we like to hold on more contingency. As the building goes up, we get vertical and we enclose the building, get our envelope, building starts to get enclosed. Left field becomes more comfortable with releasing contingency back into the project. So unused contingency is used to add additional scope into the project once we are past the greatest risks. It's important to identify scope that is easily added back into the project. So things like finishes, some site work, landscaping. Some scope cannot be added back into a project or is incredibly costly, which means that it's in everyone's interest from a risk management perspective that we buy that at the very beginning of the project with our GMP. Examples include MEP systems or square footage. We can't come back in 7 months into a project and then build build the building bigger. It's not an efficient way of building a project, and it would be exorbitantly not cost effective. And if we do not safeguard contingency, it could open up the project to significant financial risk and associated consequences, such as being over budget or having an emergency reduction in scope, right? Allowances. So allowances are part of that hard cost number. They are included with our guaranteed maximum price, and all of them are publicly available as they are part of the packages that have come before the school committee. So during pre-construction, we identify risks on the project with input from the subcontractors and Demio. When we buy out the project, when we sign our GMP, we include allowances with the buyout package. And again, these are for risks that we identify that might happen on the project. As we move past these risks, unused allowances can be transferred to fund other portions of the project. Across the guaranteed maximum price, we have $19 million in allowances that we've identified for this project. Those are not allocated specifically. So an example is we have a $2 million allowance that we built in for the Pilgrim soils a very long time ago, probably about maybe 9 months ago, that's already included in that hard cost number. And another example is we have a $2 million allowance for winter conditions, right? When you're building some aspects of a building in the winter, it can become more expensive. such as concrete, you have to add additional mixes, or you have to actually provide blankets for the concrete cures. These are examples of what the allowances are on those projects. And if they're not realized, again, that money goes back into the project's contingency. So, knowing all of that, knowing all of the risk management practices that we have built in, the $15 million in owner's contingency, the $19 million in allowances, as well as the 3% construction contingency, we're looking at a likely range of this project between $13 and $18 million. A worst case scenario at $23 million, which would mean that I use all of that $19 million in allowances, I use all of that $15 million in owner's contingency, and we use all of that 3% construction contingency. If all of that money was used on this project, we would be at $23 million. So I think that explains a little bit about how confident we are in these numbers, is that we have built in contingency throughout the course of the project via construction, allowances, and owner's contingency. To give a likely range of between $13 and $18 million is what our ask is going to be to the city to fund this project and all of the scope that we've identified as alternates. In a best case scenario, we'd be looking at probably about $10 million is what we would be asking. So obviously it's a larger bond than what we'd be asking, but we are incredibly confident in this $13 to $18 million range. And of course, in a worst case scenario, we'd be looking at $23 million, which is not even half of what the ask is. Let's take a look at what. Oh, sorry. Actually,
Before
this
you
is a
get
great
into the
point.
next
Thank
section,
you.
yes. Just to keep up with the slides that we've already seen, I'd be looking to see if there's any questions, comments from members of the committee. Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Spiegel, thank you. I would just say for the record that the numbers you put up on the screen tonight are essentially the same numbers we had back about 10 months ago. And the big differences being that 10 months ago, we didn't have bids, right? So we had gone out for the bids, as you mentioned, the big ones, the site work steel. Those came in. And in the aggregate, most of those bids, there was aggregate came in less. And then what we also have now that we didn't have then is a GMP. So, you know, the confidence level in the numbers should be extraordinarily high at this stage of the game.
So again, you are correct. The main aspect that I'm trying to get across here really is we have a signed contract with Dimeo for all of the design to be built by Dimeo for a guaranteed maximum price. If it is included with the design and it costs more, that risk is on Dimeo. Dimeo has assumed that risk and that's what they get paid their fee for, is to assume that risk. It's also important to note, thank you, that the reason that we originally said it was going to be 28 million and now we're at 23 million is because of buyout savings, because of how aggressive we've been able to be with subcontractors. This is an incredibly attractive project to subcontractors in Rhode Island and elsewhere. It keeps their people busy for a very, very long time. It's got a great team building it with Dimeo, and it's a good client. So we had a great turnout. I think for steel, we had 9 or 10 bidders, I believe, for one of the steel package. That's really unheard of, to have that many people. And when you have that many people bidding a project, the level of competition goes up and up and up, providing more value to the community.
Yeah, and I'd also add lastly that, you know, value management became this boogeyman term. And I've said publicly I can't stand the term. I think it misrepresents what actually happens. And I think the two examples you put up there, moving the Marine Trades program to a freestanding building on its own, which was more than welcomed by the program itself. They liked that idea very much. Saved us a lot of rock removal, ledge removal, et cetera. And then the Pilgrim Annex becoming the concession stand, right? At the time, in stage one, that wouldn't have been thought of yet, right? We weren't at that point. So those two things are value management, and I don't think those should be complemented in terms of what it accomplishes by not compromising anything that we originally wanted, and it saves money. So, you know, the term value management just is terrible, but thank you.
All set, Mr. Testa? Any other members of the committee? I would just comment that the project management team has done a fantastic job with managing the contingency. We saw a high school to the south of us. They blew right through it, right at the get-go. and they went over budget and were stuck with an incomplete high school building. And then the other thing I would say is the progress that the project team, Left Field and Dimeo have made on this project has been incredible. There was a high school to the north of us that started, they broke ground before us, and we broke ground a couple weeks afterwards. That project north of us has not signed a GMP as of yet. They're substantially over budget. And they're still working through kind of the beginning phases. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even believe their final design, their DD or CD documents have been approved yet by RIDE, correct?
I'm not sure. I would know that it's in their best interest too to get started working as soon as we're getting started working, and that was our prerogative, was to get working on this as soon as possible to bring down costs. So.
Yeah, so those are my comments. Left Field and Dimeo are doing a fantastic job, and also, you know, we talk about costs here. I would be remiss if I didn't comment that the mayor and his administration did a great job recently securing very good bond rates. So, you know, the strategy they're using in selling the bonds in tranches, and the percentage that they got us on those bonds was fantastic, coming in under what they estimated for. So, you know, you could see that this project by multiple groups is being managed aggressively, both from a timeline perspective and financially. So nicely done to everyone involved so far.
Mr. Chair, can I just say one
Yes,
more thing?
Mr.
I'm
Testa.
sorry. Mr. Spiegel, just to put the 13 to 18 into a percentage perspective, if it's 13 over, I believe that's about 3.7% over the original 350, and 18 is 5.1% over. So when you look back as to when this started, it started immediately post-COVID. You had general inflation, you had construction inflation, you had tariffs, all of those things, right? So you want to talk about aggressive management, everybody should be patting themselves on the back, because to come in at potentially 3 to 5% over for a project that was actually designed during COVID, right, to be at this point is something that should be commended and not criticized.
Could you use your microphone?
Sorry. Hi. This box really tells the whole story. This is data that's pulled directly from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. September 2021, you can see 2021 to 2023, 50 index points, and this is specific to new school construction. This is not across the entire industry. This is specific to school construction, and it's very important that when we build schools, we build to a higher level of code. We build these schools to last for 100 years. We're using very expensive materials. So we think with a 50-point basis increase to where you are currently right now, you're getting a very good value for the project.
Anything else, Mr. Testa? No. Okay, before we head on into the second portion of the presentation, for those who joined us late this evening, again, down here to the right near the stairs, there's a podium with a sign-up sheet. Following the second portion of this presentation and remarks from the mayor, we will be holding a Q&A session. So if you would please sign up down there and print legibly.
I swear I did not mean to leave it on here. We're having a problem. There we go. Thank you. So what's important to know is, here we go, perfect. Thank you. Great. So we'll talk about some design perspectives. So these are what you own as part of this project. There's a lot of really beautiful and intelligent design that has gone into these. The architects have done a fantastic job. In fact, both of these projects are, if you ever go visit RIDE's headquarters down on Westminster in Providence, both of these projects are hanging up downstairs on large boards. RIDE has seen fit that these projects are designed appropriately with the educational program and highlight 21st century learning, and they have them right in their lobby. These are well-supported projects by the Rhode Island Department of Education. So here's a look at the Tollgate Media Center. Some of the things you'll notice is the porosity between spaces. That's a fancy word of basically saying that the spaces are dynamic and they interact with each other. This is a hallmark of 21st century learning. You can notice how natural light fills the spaces. Acoustical baffles means that sound isn't going to travel between classrooms. There's plenty of space for technology, for students to work, and of course, traditional stacks. Librarians came to us and they said, we want traditional stacks in our buildings as well. Some school districts might go more media, some school districts might go more traditional. I think this is a great example of us blending those two to give the educators what they wanted. Here's a look at the Pilgrim Media Center. Again, tons of natural light. You can see to the outside, dynamic space, places to work, places to study, places to congregate, places to learn. Here's a look at the dining commons at Tollgate, right? This very large learning stair that can become a central hub for the community to have events and for the school department. You'll notice again the porosity between the spaces and the ample natural light that all of these spaces have. Every single learning space, every single classroom has natural light in this project. There is not a classroom that's stuck in the middle of the building with no natural light. We even have light wells in some areas, which are basically, just as they sound, they're wells for light to come through to make sure we're getting natural light in all of the classrooms. Here's a look at the dining commons at Pilgrim. Again, central learning stair, plenty of natural light. Here's a look at the new Tollgate Auditorium. State-of-the-art technology throughout. And Pilgrim's Auditorium as well. It's important to note that while some of these spaces might look different, these spaces are equitable between the two. There is parity between Tollgate and Pilgrim, meaning that Pilgrim doesn't have something that Tollgate doesn't. We didn't change design at either one of the schools to make them inequitable between each other. Here's a look at the new gymnasium and the gymnasium at Pilgrim. Now we'll talk about the athletic alternates. So if the project is, if the bond is approved by the voters, what you would get for that worst case scenario, 23 million, but much more likely between 13 and 18 million. So you will own a turf field, a track. That is already built into the 350. If the bond is not approved, then at this time we would not be able to pull the trigger on all of these alternates. You would no longer get softball fields, bleachers, and dugouts. You would no longer get practice fields, the track and throwing areas, the football grandstand, the press box, the walkways. The tennis courts would no longer be refurbished. Baseball field with bleachers and dugouts would also, we would not be able to pull the trigger on that.
Mr. Spiegel, just to clarify, obviously there would be space.
Yes.
So, you would still have the soccer field, the baseball field, and the softball field, but what you wouldn't have are obviously all the essentials that go with it, the fencing, the walkways, the bleachers, the dugouts, the press boxes, the scoreboards, et cetera, correct?
Yes. So yeah, you have in this area over here to the, is there a laser on this bad boy? Aha. So over here, this is included within your scope, so this is a very large grass field as well.
Okay.
Essentially what it would just be grass fields is all we'd be able to provide.
Thank you.
And if we look at Tollgate, again, you have the track, you have a turf field, but you do no longer have a softball field with bleachers and dugouts. You no longer have a concessions building, walkways, parking, practice field and walkway, tennis court refurbishment. And why we think that these are so important is because we've heard from the community multiple times. There are people in this room that I'm looking at right now that have been to almost every single one of these project meetings advocating for athletic facilities in the schools. So the reason that these are designed as alternates is, as I said a little bit early in the presentation, these are much easier for me to add back into the project than a mechanical system inside a building, right? If the bond is approved, I have pricing set in stone with that guaranteed maximum price up until June 30th of this year to ensure that that 373 million number, that worst case scenario that I keep talking about, doesn't happen. That's another level of risk management that we have been directed by the school committee to put into this project.
If I could interject, the other thing that's really big about the Tollgate outdoor complexes is that it's a shared space with Windman. So the middle school also has the capability of using the tennis courts, the practice fields, the soccer fields, the baseball and softball fields. So currently right now, Windman for any of those sports other than tennis has to come over here to Vets or Mickey Stevens from the south side of the city and use these sporting fields. So they're going to be able to have the capability now to have fields on the south side of the city. So I just wanted to throw that comment in there.
So, John Bates, if you wanted to join me up on stage real quick. So any other questions from the committee on any of these alternates or design perspectives that I presented so far to date?
Mr. Chester.
Thank you. Mr. Spiegel, just from a procedural perspective, athletic fields are always the last thing built anyway, correct? And they're typically the adults because you've got to construct buildings first, right? And on some of those components of the athletic fields, the state doesn't reimburse you on them, on some of them, right?
That is true, yeah.
Right, okay. So I just want to, I want people to think that, we consciously, we're going to put athletics at the end, but that's procedurally the way, essentially the RIDE way is, that's how the projects go.
So that is the directive from RIDE as well. The Rhode Island Department of Education wants to see, one field, drop all of that. If we were to cut educational space in lieu of fields to get if educational spaces, traditional educational spaces, I just say I don't want to discount anything that our student athletes do. Because let me be honest, if it wasn't for high school lacrosse, I'm not sure I would have graduated high school. It kept me in classes. But those are the type, we can't cut educational spaces and expect RIDE to reimburse the project. It would not be something that they do. And a good example, there's someone in this room who's very closely associated with East Providence High School. Just in that case, the athletic fields, after the new buildings are complete, you move everybody into the buildings, and then you build the fields afterwards. So it really is the very, very end of the project, the last things to be completed as we move forward, which again is why we highlighted these as areas to be funded as alternates.
Are there any other comments or questions from members of the committee? See none. Left field, do you have any final comments before we turn it over?
We do. We would like to take a few minutes to show you all some time-lapse videos of what we have currently going on site. Demio and their subcontractors have been doing a fantastic job aggressively scheduling this project. I was just talking to John Bates today. They're putting up close to 70 pieces of steel a day right now at Tollgate. We're going to be starting on concrete on Pilgrim next week, John?
That's right.
Yep. So with that, we have 2 drone videos we'd like to show you just about where we are in progress and how well this project is moving forward. So, John?
You have the pointer by chance? Oh, great, thank you. All right, there's going to be some dramatic music, so if we could maybe make it a little less dramatic so I can be slightly audible, that would be great. But, yeah, see. Okay, so this project kicked off with a major tree clearing process. And just for reference, the top right section up there is the existing Tollgate building. You can see the CTC building on the right-hand side there. Tree clearing, and then we had to demolish the existing Drumrock building to make room to put our new building, which overlaps. See that top left corner of the foundations that are poking through the ground there is where the Drumrock building used to be. So after the demolition and site clearing process wrapped up, we started the foundation installation. You dig the trenches, you place the formwork for the concrete, you place the rebar, which gives the foundations its tensile strength, and then you pour the concrete. That dries, and then you see the tops of the stem walls poking through the ground there, and that basically makes the outline of the building that you're seeing. And then, of course, steel erection kicked off at the beginning of the year. Like Mr. Spiegel said, we're at a rapid pace of about 70 pieces a day. If you were to go out there today, you would actually see the entirety of the south section of steel erected. This drone video was taken about a week ago, I believe. So things are moving along quite a bit. You see one of the 2 elevator hoistways built with CMU block, sort of on the left-hand side there. And things are moving along quite rapidly. And with that, we can transition over to the Pilgrim site. And as we're doing that, I'll just note that before the Rhode Island Department of Education requires any major investment like a multi-million-dollar milestone, generational milestone project can go forward. We have to do some due diligence on the environmental conditions of the site. So one of the first things that we did, and you can go ahead and kick off the video, when we came on board was we engaged an environmental engineer to do environmental assessments. Tollgate was proven to be a clean site. Unfortunately, Pilgrim did not meet the minimum standards according to the state for soil conditions. And so we've been engaged with DEM over the last several months, going through the process of making sure that we meet all of the site conditions for a successful and clean project for the future generations of Warwick students. But what you see here is a stripped site. We exported roughly 20,000 cubic yards of topsoil, organic material that's great for landscaping, but not so great for building on top of. And that the gray outline that you see there is structurally stable, dense grade import fill that's going in the building area. And you can see on the lower right-hand side there, they started to put in some manholes, some civil utilities. Concrete installation, as Mr. Spiegel, I think, said, they're mobilizing this week. So that's going to kick off in earnest next week. So that'll go through April. And steel erection, similar to what you just saw at Tollgate, is going to kick off in March. And things are going to start moving really quickly at Pilgrim also. So.
Anything else from left field?
No, I'd just like to say thank you, everyone, for coming out and giving us your time this evening. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any? So as we've seen in the presentation now, we have a worst case need of approximately $23 million and a best case scenario of $10 million with the range of 13 to 18 being where the project team believes will fall. Back in November of 22, voters approved a $350 million bond to complete this project, but as Mr. Testa pointed out over the last several years, and Mr. Spiegel showed it through data, this project has experienced the historic inflation. This has now prompted the need for additional funds, and the City Council and the Mayor are putting forward a $50 million school and recreational bond, and at this time I'll turn it over to the Honorable Mayor Frank J. Picozzi to discuss that bond with members of the public.
Good evening, everyone. This bond was actually my initiative when I learned that we were going to be probably about $20 to $25 million short. I don't like special elections, but we can't have the answer later. We need it now. This bond is contingency money. We're certainly not going to issue $50 million worth of bonds. It's not going to be for several years. The City Council did add a component that it could be used for recreation facilities owned by the city, but it's not a given. It's not going to happen for quite a while. We're going to start, we're having the election, excuse me, very poor lighting. The election will be Tuesday, February 3rd. Early voting will start on Wednesday, January 4th. Traditionally, and it's why I don't like special elections, is a very low turnout. What? January 14th. What did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Traditionally, there's very low turnout, but I'm hoping that we'll have a really good turnout because of early voting. We haven't had that in a special election before. Starting tomorrow, it'll be put out on social media, press releases, and robocalls. And we're going to continue to do that so people know about the election. I have what will be with the ballot. There are some other things on the ballot, some proposed charter changes that the council put on there. If you read the whole thing, it explains the finances of this. Right now, we project, if we use the whole $50 million, and at the current interest rates that we budgeted for, which I believe is 4.5, which we haven't met yet, we've been under that so far, but we can't guarantee that. A home worth $400,000 would be, the taxes would increase $88 annually. In addition to what we're increasing for $350 million bonds. I want to explain that we haven't issued $350 million in bonds yet. We've issued 150 now and 25 million last year. We're doing it strategically, so we're doing it in different tranches so we don't run into a wall of debt. We're trying to get it, and we're going to issue the next $150 million as close to the end of the projects as we can, anticipating balloon payments and reimbursements from the state, which unfortunately don't start until this whole project is complete. I can understand some of that, but they don't reimburse for athletic fields, and they're making us build the fields before they start reimbursing, and I don't think that's right or fair. Also, to be very transparent, we are getting no reimbursement on this $50 million, and we only get reimbursed for $314.5 million of the $350. When they came up with this ride, it set the price then, construction prices are a lot lower, and they will not raise it, which I think they should. They should do it to what modern construction costs are, but we have no control over that. So as I said, it's $50 million. They're told us between 20 and 23 million is the contingency fund. We need the answers now because this is left up to the residents of the city. Over the next few weeks when this is going on, there will be opposition groups and there will be people promoting it. And the people get to decide as they should. That's democracy. If it's not passed, the school department's going to have to go in another direction, shared athletic facilities, something like that. Now, you have to go back to the drawing board. If it is passed, we have the money in contingency if it's needed. I have these sheets up here. You can, as I said, with early voting, you can also do mail-in ballots. The deadline for that is Tuesday, January 13th. And don't panic if you're not registered, or you want to get one, I should say, because you can go right on the Secretary of State's website and do it right there. And then after that, 2 days later, it starts emergency ballots, which is pretty much the same thing. They just name it emergency because it's closer. So there's plenty of time to vote. We're going to do plenty of advertising. We're going to get the vote out, and the people are going to decide whether we go forward with this or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So at this time, I'll make one final announcement. If you haven't already, down to the right near the stairs there's a sign-up sheet. If you would like to participate in the public comment and question and answer portion of this meeting, we'll start it in 1 minute. Okay, we have 8 individuals signed up for public comment. Again, public comment for this forum also includes question and answers. Individual comments will be respectfully limited to 5 minutes per person, with public comment not to exceed 90 minutes. Though the content of comments will not be restricted, it is the hope of this committee that citizens, committee members, and the administration alike will be respectful of each other's right to speak, tolerant of different points of view, and mindful of everyone's time. This public comment period is for agenda items only. So speakers are just asked to state their name for the record, and we will go down in order here. We can use the podium here to our right of the mayor. First speaker is Lindsay Garcia.
Thank you, Frank. Hi, Lindsay Garcia, Warwick resident. I went through the Warwick Public Schools myself. I have 3 children currently in Warwick Public Schools. I have 2 in middle school. I have 1 in elementary school. I'm here. I appreciate the presentation today. Seeing what the alternative athletic fields show even more emphasize why I'm here tonight. The schools need to get done. We need this bond money to close that gap to get these fields done. And I'm here to actually support what that $50 million bond could do for the rest of the city. The opportunities that we provide to the young athlete in Warwick is not what it was 20 or 30 years ago. And it's not because we don't have the programs. We have the programs. We have the Warwick Continental, the Warwick North. We have other programs as well. But we don't have access to quality facilities and fields across the city. I'm actually a member of the Warwick Police Athletic League Board. We offer 8 sports and 1 mentorship program. We are actually one of the only programs in Warwick that provide feeder sports into our middle school and high school programs. So think lacrosse, think wrestling, tackle football. We're going to be offering flag football. We have one of the largest, we actually have the largest competitive travel basketball program in the state, and we have no gym. We have to spend tens of thousands of dollars a year to the Warwick School Department. We use time in the Boys and Girls Club, in the YMCA. My daughter's in 8th grade. She has practice at 9 o'clock at night because they can't get in a gym until 7:30. We need to invest in the kids now because these gorgeous high schools, we're losing kids every year to North Kingstown, to Ponegantset. And when I talk to the parents, most of the time it's because they've gone outside of Warwick for sports and they're sticking with their club sports, their AAU friends who are now in private schools, or their pathway is to a different public school. I travel the state for lacrosse and basketball and baseball with my kids. What we see in smaller towns and cities than Warwick is astonishing. I go down to the South Kingston Rec Center in South County. Gorgeous facility, $6.5 million to build. I go to the Johnston Rec Center, less than $4 million to build. We have to drive 25 minutes south to find a basketball court that's like playable outside in the summer, and that's in North Kingstown. They have tennis courts, they have pickleball. And I think to myself, why can't we have this here in Warwick? We are one of the biggest cities here. We can do this we don't even need $50 million. I look at Mickey Stevens where we used to run summer programs, rec programs when I was a kid. You can't even use that field. I know with POW, we have to ask them to put fill in. The lighting isn't great. There's only 1 field that's usable. We need to do better for our kids because we need to be able to have the programs now invested in. We haven't invested in the programs that we need to, and the facilities and quality access to indoor space for our kids, because we're continuing to lose them when they hit middle school and they hit high school. And I know with my kids, they want to play with their friends, they want to play with their classmates. So I know with POW, a lot of our programs, they're Warwick residents, they're Warwick kids who go to Warwick schools, and we hope the goal is to keep them on the track through Windman and through Vets, and then hit these gorgeous new high schools. And if we don't invest in them now, they're gonna look elsewhere. And I see it with my kids between lacrosse and basketball and baseball, and I don't want to see that for our city. And the other thing is, I know I have 5 minutes, with these big sports complex that would be amazing for the city of Warwick. When we travel outside of, I go to Mass Premier all the time, I'm all over New England. They charge you to get into the tournament, and then they charge you per head to get in. So that's the money, it would pay for itself. Like, we wouldn't even have to have the fundraisers that we have with POW begging the public to give us money. We would have one tournament wrestling, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's cheer, whatever it may be. we would be able to fund our whole entire program. And I know with PAL, it's been difficult. It's one of the biggest conversations we have at every board meeting is that we need space, we need fields, we're begging, pleading to find time, and then we tell poor kids, your practice is at 7:30 at night. Like, it's just not fair. So for me personally, as a mom and as a member of one of the largest sports nonprofits in Warwick that feeds into our athletic programs and our
30
mentorship
seconds.
programs, this bond would be a game changer for the city of Warwick. I really hope that the public, I think we need this gap to fill the schools, because without it, it would cripple our athletic opportunities for little kids in this city. So I really hope that people look beyond. It's not just about the high schools, it's about all of the city residents and youth athletes. So I hope that people think long and hard when they go to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Sean, can I just add a quick follow-up to that?
Yes,
So
Mr. Spiegel.
I did just want to touch on a point that Ms. Garcia made, which is the reality of school choice programs here in Rhode Island. Because of the way that they work, often student athletes do switch between districts in order to get those facilities that you want. So if you look at a community like South Kingstown, they spend $4 million a year sending kids to other districts. So that's $4 million of South Kingstown taxpayer money that is going to North Kingstown, that is going Cherhoe, that is going to other places. And the main reason behind that, because South Kingstown has great CTE programs, is sports facilities, right? That is a reality of how school choice operates here in Rhode Island.
Thank you, Mr. Spiegel. Our next speaker is Mr. Jim Italian.
Neighbors and friends, good evening again, and thank you all for being here. When I first started to come and listen to these hearings, one thing that has always stuck out, and I think it's still true, when I asked some questions at the end of the meeting, I said, could these things change? And the answer was absolutely yes. Excuse me, at first it was probably not, then probably, then absolutely yes. It's changed again. The things that I see we're talking about in the bond was originally presented to us as part of that original $350 million, which a number of people at this podium back then said it wasn't possible to build for anywhere near that, which has turned out to also be true. The other thing that really concerns me is we just had a lowering in our bond rating. That's the world telling us that we're spending too bloody much money. Here we want another $50 million. Not that I'm saying it's not worth it. Our children are worth $100 trillion, but if we give them too much money, we're not going to be able to pay our teachers. We're not going to be able to give them a decent retirement. We're not going to be able to do our fire. We don't have decent maintenance in this town. Look at the potholes in the streets again and again and again. We had a big argument last night at the city council meeting, and there was no right or wrong. The whole thing was about being more transparent and making sure that we're getting good value for our money. That's the same thing we're trying to do here. None of us want our kids to have a lousy education in these beautiful schools. I still worry that what are we educating right now? 28% of our children are conversant in math and English. Holy cow, and that's doing better than we did. Okay. Building this new school is not going to increase our education of our kids to the level that they need to be. We need more money to give our teachers the real tools, other than the buildings, to really educate our children. That's my biggest concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Italian.
So just a couple follow-ups to that. The first is that there's a saying in our business that changes in design cost nothing. It's just strokes on a piece of paper. Changes in construction cost millions of dollars. I have a guaranteed maximum price for the buildings that you're seeing here today. If I change that, it's a financial risk to this project. So now that we have a guaranteed maximum price, unless we run into some crazy risks that we haven't accounted for, and I believe that we've been very conservative in allocating contingency and allowances to make sure we are being risk averse, these buildings cannot change at this point. That's what's my only comment, is that if you're worried about the buildings changing now, we're in construction. They really can't that much.
Thank you, Mr. Spiegel. Our next speaker is Mr. Michael Holmes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Holmes. I'm a Ward 6 resident.
Mr. Holmes, would you just flip the switch on the... There you go.
Try that all over again. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Holmes. I'm a Ward 6 resident. Lived in Warwick my entire life, 40-something years now. Graduate of the Warwick public school system, John Wicks, when it was still existing, Windman, Tollgate. I'm also a representative for the Carpenters Union, and I just want to speak a little bit. The first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about persistence, because I want to give great accolades and a lot of just general compliments to everybody that's been involved from the start. Because when the loud minority stood forth and they kept pushing back, everybody here, the school committee, the school building committee, construction manager, the architects, the OPMs, you all had answers. And you worked really, really hard to bring down a budget that we could afford. But most importantly, as a graduate of the Warwick public school systems, they were old when I graduated. They were antiquated. And I had some absolutely terrific teachers that unfortunately couldn't do their best work simply because failures of technology, failures of boiler systems, and this has the chance to really fix all that. Now, I mentioned that I'm a representative for the Carpenters Union, and already dozens of carpenters have been on site at Tollgate. We've been able to change people's lives through our apprenticeship, graduates, and I look forward to saying that our carpenter steward that's going to be placed at Pilgrim when it starts next week is a Warwick resident, a stakeholder that's going to make sure that the budgets are met, that the inspiration and the motivation for good quality building is met. And you know what? Again, I've mentioned it several times already. I was a graduate of Tollgate High School, and I was also fortunate enough to play several years for Tollgate baseball. And I could speak from experience that it was pretty awful, and I'll just be PC right now, to try to get on those buses at the end of a school day after a brief batting practice just to get down to Mickey Stevens, which isn't easy with traffic even in the best of times. I think we owe it to the future of sports, and I heard it from Ms. Garcia earlier. We've got people that are invested in the city. They are invested in their sports. They're invested in their communities. Let's pay it forward and make sure that this $50 million bond passes so we can owe it to their futures as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes, one question for you. Total number of cups of coffee a day that you have?
I can't disclose that right now.
Thank you, sir.
While I have a second, I would like to discuss a quick case study. East Providence High School. As part of the effort for South Kingstown's bond, Left Field did a case study looking at East Providence High School and some really key metrics prior to the construction and the opening of that school, before and after. And these are publicly available as part of RIDE's report cards on RIDE. Their enrollment went up by over 100 students in that first year it was open. Their pure pupil spending went down by over 1,000 the first year that school opened. Their graduation rates increased, their suspension rate decreased, and the percentage of students that were high performers increased by, I believe, 5%. I'm not 100% positive on that last one, but there are actual metrics that do show that new buildings can help produce better outcomes. I know those are just a few stats, but I'd be willing to have a conversation with anybody after the meeting and pull up some of the old data. I'm sure I have it on my phone, and we can talk a little bit more about how East Providence is making a difference in terms of their student population with that new high school.
Thank you, Mr. Spiegel. Our next speaker is Mr. Greg Mancini.
Thank you. Greg Mancini from Build Rhode Island. We're a trade association comprised of 4 contractor associations, and 17 construction unions. Many of our members and some of our contractors who reside in Warwick are actually building these projects right now. To dovetail on what Mr. Spiegel just said, I've been involved in a number of construction projects throughout the state, and I can tell you that outcomes improve with new facilities. That is statistically the case. So I think that if you're concerned about the children of your community, then invest in the children of your community and invest in them with these new schools. I think that also, as Mr. Spiegel indicated, if you don't build facilities that have, complete facilities that have athletic fields, auditoriums, you will lose students to other districts that do have those type of amenities, and I've seen that happen in many towns. I don't believe, and we don't believe, these are extras. They're just part of an overall learning experience for the children in your community. So the last point I'll make is I know that athletic fields are not reimbursable by RIDE, but other components are. And if you take a pass now, you may lose your eligibility, your bonus, your reimbursement bonuses. So, and I know other communities have lost their reimbursement bonuses. So I urge, and my organization urges you to put this on the ballot, and hopefully the citizens to pass it in February. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. Our next speaker is Mr. Sean Rainey.
Thank you, Sean Rainey, Ward 1, baseball coach here at Warwick Vets Middle School. A couple of months ago, I think Mr. McCaffrey was at the city council, and there's one word that we need to bring back to Warwick, and that word is pride. Pride in our schools, pride in our city, pride in our fields, pride in everything we do here in Warwick. We need people to bring that pride back. One thing I am wondering is hoping that we can get some of this bond money to help put turf on the baseball and softball fields. It'll save you money in the long run of your budgets. It's not going to have the maintenance, not going to have to spend water, you're not going to have to spend for fertilizer, you're not going to have the grass cut, you're not going to have lines put down. The lines will be there. You hire a company to come in once a month, refresh it with their machine, a lot cheaper than spending for water, fertilizer, grass cuttings, all this other stuff that needs to get done. In my opinion, I think we should spend the money now rather than spend the money later on the cost of running the fields. It's like a $500,000 difference between turf and grass to build. I say spend the $2 million extra on the 4 fields at Tollgate and Warwick, Pilgrim, the baseball and the softball fields. If I'm Mr. Spiegel, if I'm off topic, let me know.
No, this is the guy I was telling you about that showed up to every single meeting.
You've still got 3 minutes and 19 seconds.
One more thing, I lost track, but as far as the recreational field, this is another thing that I love to talk about. Facilities. Mickey Stevens, I'm not going to go any further than what Ms. Garcia has said, but we need more facilities, and I think I asked, spoke to the mayor last night about having a recreational facility, indoor recreational facility, basketball facility, pickleball facility, a multi-use facility that people can use. Not only the youth, the senior citizens can go play pickleball, volleyball. You can do anything you want there. You can make money, as Ms. Garcia said. Warwick needs to start thinking ahead of times instead of behind times where we are right now. Thanks.
So, thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is construction is not getting cheaper. It continues to rise. That's what these 2 slides show, is that we are expecting construction to keep rising. It is not something that's going to come down. I know that I believe when the Pilgrim School was built, David, right, there were no fields originally as part of that, and then they were added in. Tollgate. Originally, they had to be built back at a much higher cost. If we If we are not able to include this with our current work, it will cost much more money 5 years from now, 6 years from now. Not just because of the inflation cost, but because I already have my people on site. We have already bought it out. We already have the staff. We're already mobilized. We already have all the equipment on site. It's just a much more efficient way of building these fields than to wait longer.
Thank you, Mr. Spiegel.
Can you guys call me Chris? I keep looking for my dad every time you guys say.
Our next speaker, out of Ward 7, Mr. Rob Cody.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, Rob. How are you? I heard you drop some stuff off our trailer the other day.
Welding procedures.
Great. Thank you.
I'm going to make some comments. This is not to disparage any of the players, because I think I was instrumental with the school committee recommending a lot of the players, and I think you got good guys, all right? Especially your iron workers. I've worked with them a lot, and that's my expertise. I've been building schools for over 30 years. As a structural inspector of record, as the owner's project management team, and I'm pretty good at what I do, and I've got a good reputation. So if you leave that slide up, there's a couple things I want to say. Sean, if you remember in early 2022, I came before this body. I was a little cocky that night. I said, if you want to find out how much your school is going to cost, get a 5th grader that's good in math and do this one calculation, right?
I do recall, but I wasn't on the committee.
And I told you, when they were telling you you're going to build these schools for 600 square feet, I said, I don't care what anyone tells you. You're going to be north of $750 a square foot, and you will not build these schools for less than $372 million. That's what I said. That was one calculation that took me 2 minutes, right? Where are you? $820 a square foot. At the end of last year, you were at $764, all right? I've heard the word contingency plan so much tonight that it's aggravating me, because when these projects were sold to the general public, to the taxpayer, prior to us going to vote, if anyone understood the term contingency plan, if anybody involved in the school department or the school committee had any semblance of education on construction, you would have had a contingency plan, and you wouldn't have had all the rhetoric and the dissension that you have now, because we went and voted on a particular product that we are not getting, and we are not even getting close to that product. Now, to give you an example, the last 2 high schools that I presided over, Diamond High School and Doherty High School. Diamond High School, 3,800 tons of steel. Doherty High School, 4,700 tons of steel. Every school that I have presided over in the last 7 years anyway, whether it's elementary school, I've done K through 6, elementary, high schools, everyone is at least a portion of that building is a Category 4 hurricane shelter. Every single one. Not Warwick. What the people need to know is the value engineering that was done, the schools have been cheapened, all right? My calculations now, you got 1,123 tons of steel on Tollgate. Based on steel construction right now, or steel fabrication, correct me if I'm wrong, I know I'm in the ballpark, but I'm off the top of my head. We're close to $5 million in the steel package, right? Maybe 5.2 with miscellaneous.
Steel package is way more than that, Rob. John, do you remember what the steel package?
Structural steel package. You got 1,100 tons.
We'll pull it up right now.
Right, 1,100 tons, $4,400 a ton. What we were sold on the steel package, here's your document that you gave the taxpayer before we went to vote. $17 million. Tollgate, 246,000 square feet. My point is this. We've heard, Leah, you said it yourself, I'm not voting for any more cuts, no more cuts, no more cuts. And the value engineering came, we cut this, we cut that. We've been cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. My point is simply this. You were not forthcoming with the taxpayer. The taxpayer is not getting what they were sold. Not even close. Now, I've been screaming at the city of Warwick for 10 years, 15 years to build new schools. Big proponent of it. I've made my living doing it. But we're not getting what you promised us. When we got lightweight iron going up at Tollgate. It's all lightweight HSS iron. It's the lightest weight steel that I've seen in the school. I just finished an elementary school that's a full seismic school that is bigger than Tollgate. It's 1,200 tons. We got 1,100 tons of steel. as an example, Doherty School, just the steel erection, was 7 months. The Diamond School, just the steel erection, was 6 months. Tollgate, steel school, 6 weeks for steel erection. Just about 6 weeks. There might be another week or so miscellaneous. There'll be another crane there next week. 6 weeks. It's all lightweight steel. It's not a Category 4 shelter. It's not a seismic frame school.
30 seconds.
Right? So my point is this. The reason that people get upset is because we were not delivered the facts before voting, right? That's the problem that I have with it. I want new schools, right? I've been saying this for years, but you can't give somebody something or tell them you're going to give them something and then bait and switch them and give them something else and then come up because of the fact that you have all these other cost escalations. Chris, you and I know these cost escalations were well in place, long before the end of last year. Everybody knew this was going up all throughout the industry of school construction. And at the end result, we haven't heard what the impact is going to be to the taxpayer and to the senior citizens. And we have to have equal compassion for the senior citizens as we do for the children that want to use the fields, because I'm all about that. My kids are all athletic, we're athletes. So there has to be some type of symbiotic relationship between what the children's needs are and what the senior citizens' needs are, so we can all live and thrive in a nice community.
Thank you, Mr. Cody.
Hey, John, do we have?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
If he's willing to entertain it. Are you willing to entertain the
Sure,
question?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your opinion,
Yes.
they put up there for worst case,
Mr. Mayor, would you just use the superintendent's microphone so that the
Go ahead.
TV
Go
at
ahead.
home picks it
I'm
up?
sorry.
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, I want them to hear you. Because I'm interested in your opinion.
Go ahead.
When they put up the worst case, best case scenario of the cost overruns, does that look right to you?
I
Because
think
a lot is
I think
riding
it's
it-
going to be more than that. As for an example, when they gave us their best case scenario, they gave us their guaranteed price or best case scenario for electrical, right? It came in 3.2 million higher at your school construction meeting, right? Costs are still going up, but what I don't want to see.
We have signed contracts for those, Rob. Listen,
I understand.
Yeah.
There's signed contracts on every school I do. There's no schools come in on time, on budget. They just don't. And I
do.
understand why. I understand why. All right? I understand why.
Now,
I'm
Chris-
hoping that is.
We're not trying to be contentious. I'm honestly interested in his opinion on that cost overrun. Do you think it would be dramatically more than what they put down? I think the worst case scenario was 23.
I personally think, and
There it
I
is.
I said, I think you're going to be, I think you're going to be at $380 million, maybe 382. I don't see the project coming in less than $382 million. And look,
Okay, so
I hope it does.
just so $32 million above what the 350 is in
Yes,
cost overruns.
I think you're going to be 30 million over the 350. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
if you have a $50 million contingency, that's probably going to help. Hopefully you'll be able to
Maybe
do it.
we will. Maybe we
Maybe,
will.
right.
The voters have to decide.
Right, and I think you did a good job doing that. I just think that, and as we do in Massachusetts, we build the school, we knock down the old school, and we put state-of-the-art playing fields, right? And what state-of-the-art playing fields mean is playing fields that have low maintenance requirements, right? So we don't want to put in playing fields that are going to have a high maintenance requirement using lots of equipment, lots of manpower. We want low maintenance fields, and I'm hoping that's what we get, because the kids deserve it. I've been saying it for years, all right, for years. I just feel terrible that it wasn't presented to us correctly and that the math wasn't done, and it just seems that it almost seems like it was deceptive. And I don't mean that to disparage. Just, look,
No,
I
we were-
work
we
with
were a
left
part of the
field. They're
project then.
excellent.
Yeah, Rob.
You've got the best team. You've got the best team. Stella Ironworks, you're not going to find anybody better. Norgate, Dimeo, I recommended Dimeo. You have the best players, all right? They were given a package that was an impossible package to fulfill. And that's what they've had to do is cut it down. So I just don't want anybody to, you got to stop saying we didn't trim anything, we didn't cut anything, there was no value engineering. Just like I said 3 years ago, first thing that's going to go was air conditioning. That went. So let's just hope that it comes in on time. But please, we need to be mindful of the senior citizens as well. Thank you
Mr.
for your
Cody.
time.
Thanks, Rob.
Mr.
Thank you,
Cody.
Mayor. It was a pleasure.
Mr. Cody,
Pardon me? A lot. I owe you that.
Mr. Cody, thank
3
you for your
minutes.
willingness to
Thank you
take
so
that
much. I
question.
appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the question.
Thanks, Rob.
Mayor, anything else? No, I'm good. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may
uh,
I add to your question?
excuse
I did
me,
a little
sir.
study, Italiani.
sir,
31%
excuse me.
average above school
Sir.
cost through 2023.
Mr. Italiani, please, sir.
31% above budget.
Thank you. All right, next up, our favorite speaker, lifelong Warwick resident, 34-year teacher at Warwick Public Schools, 38, president of the Teachers Union, graduate of Greenwood Elementary, Windman Middle School, and the Tollgate High School. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Darlene Netko.
Oh, I don't have to use time with the whole homeowner taxpayer stuff. And it was Windman Junior High, grades 7 through 9 at the time, which is why I know what Tollgate is like and what Tollgate fields have been like for all those years. I played field hockey. I walked down to CCRI to play field hockey. I was a halfback and goalie my senior year. Our graduating goalie was actually state goalie, and we needed somebody, and I did it, even though, you know, I was coming out of the other position. Anyway, we need those fields, clearly, and that is one of the selling points for these new schools for many people in our city and in our schools, because our student athletes have suffered over the years at Tollgate. I graduated from Tollgate in '84. It was my senior year when we finally got a football field, the old football field that is now a practice. Well, actually now is rubble. But if we build these new schools, as you said, Mr. Spiegel, there is data to support that achievement will improve, attendance will improve, graduation rates will improve, because the kids will feel pride and ownership of the building. Not that our students don't feel pride now, and not that we don't have wonderful students now, but when you go to school every day in windowless classrooms where the air is bad, the heat can either be 100 degrees or 52 degrees on any given day, it demoralizes people. So we build these new schools and we build these new fields and we have this contingency fund, and what's ever left, because it's a school and recreational bond, can go toward Mickey Stevens or Thayer or whatever other fields we need. As far as athletic facilities, as a previous speaker said, who has traveled around the state and other states, Warwick is a hub. We've got the airport, we've got hotels. You build these recreational facilities, you have tournaments coming in. That's revenue for our city. And as far as pride in Warwick, now Warwick is a destination for these athletic events. Furthermore, you mentioned the Pathways programs. It's not just South Kingston High School losing money to North Kingston or Ponegantza, it's Warwick too. And we have a career center, and we have CTE pathways in Tollgate and Pilgrim. And because RIDE refuses to approve anything that came after the initial approvals that Ponegantza and North Kingston got, and they refuse to say what we have is substantially similar, we continue to lose students. And that's on RIDE, and that whole pathways thing needs to be shut down until it's properly restarted. Right, Andrew? So I'm in favor of the bond. I'm in favor of whatever athletic facilities we can have for the city of Warwick and for our school students. And as far as the school buildings themselves, tempered air or whatever we have needs, whatever HVAC systems go into those buildings need to properly regulate the temperature, because we cannot continue going to school with 100 degrees, 52 degrees, and kids sweltering or freezing because of the cold. And as someone who teaches in a windowless room, I can tell you that having natural light will be very important, but I would prefer to have natural air and the ability to open a window, and not those little windows that Pilgrim has, and not obviously the lack of windows that Tollgate has. Which ones? Well, Pilgrim was built on a, you know, Pilgrim's bad, Tollgate's bad. They were bad decisions. But hopefully these two new schools will be good decisions. We'll have the fields. We'll have the proper space inside the buildings. We'll
30
have the proper
seconds.
airflow. And our kids will get what they deserve for their education. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Necco. Our last speaker of the night, I'm not going to make any jokes about this individual, Craig Andriozzi.
Good evening. I'm a lifelong Warwick resident, grew up in Buttonwoods. Since everyone else has given their resume, Park School, Gorton Junior High School, and the great Warwick Veterans Memorial High School. My question is, according to Sean Rainey's math, it's only about an extra $2 million to put turf on the fields. And if we just keep talking about we're only going to cut sports facilities, how does that add up to potentially $23 million?
It's not just the turf that we're talking about. So it's let me go to the drawings.
I mean, bleachers, lights, things of that nature are going to add up to $23 million
So across
potentially?
2 schools, all of the associated site work that's going to go into it, all of the import and export of fill. The most expensive part of any of these projects, unfortunately, is the stuff that we don't see. It's all the ground improvements. It's all the civil work that goes into it. It's all the underground electrical and plumbing runs to get to the places. It's the ADA. It's the code requirements. All of that stuff bakes up. But if you're talking about just one of field costs, I can tell you because we just built one in Barrington that we managed. Just one turf field is about $5 million right now, from ground up. So like where we are right now, right? So ground up building a field was about $4.8 million.
Initially, that was included in the $350 million, though, right? All of those fields.
So my understanding of your state, we weren't your OPM during your stage 2, but from what I understand, yes, those were originally included.
And you've mentioned on more than one occasion tonight, you have a guarantee that this project cannot cost more than a certain amount of dollars, $373.
Yeah, sure. The
right?
design, so everything that's designed.
So when we approved $350 million, why did we not get a guarantee then? If the prices were so much lower and everything has gone up over the last 3-4 years, why did we not get a guarantee when we were told what the project was going to cost?
So it's a great question. So in order for us to get a guaranteed maximum price with a construction manager, we have to have the building designed through construction documentation. So we can't award a GMP based on half-finished drawings, for lack of a better term, because if we were to do that, Dimeo, even though they're a fantastic company, Rob said it, and we respect Rob a lot. He's fantastic at what he does. They would hold so much money as allowances to protect themselves from them having to eat the costs of it, that the price would be exorbitant, right? If you give me a half set of drawings to build your house and it doesn't have a roof on it, it doesn't have a few of these other things on it, and I have to build it for a set price and I got to tell you what that price is, my price is going to be a lot higher than what it actually is because I'm taking on all the risk. So it's in Warwick's best value to work with Dimeo, which we have been since the design development stage, to bring this project together so that they own everything in the drawings and will take on the risk.
But wasn't it in our best interest to do that 4 years ago, 3 years ago, when we decided to do this?
4 years ago, when you had the bond approved, you only had what's called a stage 2 approval. It's a 5-stage process in Rhode Island. So in order to get reimbursed, you can't award based on a stage 2. You have to go through this design development, construction documentation phase that we finished up. Otherwise, RIDE won't reimburse it. It's a series of like checkpoints that you have to go through with RIDE because like the school committee and like
So it wasn't, the short answer is it wasn't possible
it's
to
not
have.
possible. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I didn't mean to
And,
overcomplicate that. It's not possible.
Another question, how exactly is it going to save us $5 million to keep a 2,000 square foot steel building at Pilgrim High School for locker rooms?
Oh, so it's not just, again, it's not just the building. It's all of the ground improvements. It's the ledge that we have to drill up and move.
It's going to cost $5 million to add that there?
Oh, yeah. Yep. We have all the designers and everybody. John, you want to come up and?
I think the cost to build a brand new standalone concessions building is somewhere in the $7.5 million.
I mean, this isn't, we're not building a Gillette Stadium. This is, I mean, 8 games at Pilgrim that maybe 2,000 people collectively attend.
Yeah, so
unfortunately.
we get this question a lot. You know, a lot of people in other communities will say, "You're building bathrooms. Why are they costing $2 million?" And the reason for that is I have to adhere to a lot of code that private projects don't have to adhere to. I have to build buildings that RIDE will approve. I have to use materials that are rated for 100 years, and like even the fixtures, right? The toilets that we're building into these schools, it's not like a toilet in your house, which maybe costs $300, that's going to be used 3 times a day. There's toilets are going to be used 150 times.
I get all that. It
Yeah.
just seems like it's an exorbitant amount of money to build a locker room for a high school baseball field.
Yeah, it saved $5 million. Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah, to build a new building from the ground up would have been $7 million. For us to renovate and repurpose, it's $2 million.
And in closing, I officiate a few sports around the state, and our athletic facilities are an embarrassment. So if this project doesn't go through, unfortunately, our kids are going to continue to play on the worst fields. I mean, there are a lot poorer municipalities in this state who have facilities that are 1,000 times better than Warwick's. And I would like to point out to the mayor, it seems like the only thing that you made a point of saying is, if there is money left over, you're not already committed to spend this on athletics. Our fields need probably more money than we're going to allot to them. But the first thing you said was, I do not commit to giving that money to athletic fields. But you have to. Our fields are embarrassing. These kids deserve so much better. The adults here do too, but the kids definitely do. But you had to make a point to make sure that you didn't commit to spending that money.
Thank you,
and
sir.
that's where the money needs to go.
Thank you. So that concludes the public comment portion of our meeting. I again want to thank Chris Spiegel and John Bates from Left Field, all of the members from the project management team, and Dimeo Construction, Sam, Secotio and Associates, and all of our experts who came out. I want to thank Mayor Picozzi, Chief of Staff Vicente, and Director Prodger for coming out as well, Superintendent McCaffrey, Executive Director Craig Enos, Executive Director Mr. Kane, all of my colleagues on the school committee. I also want to thank Bruce and Sean for broadcasting tonight's meeting for those that weren't able to physically come or be here for 6 o'clock. It's been recorded. And finally, I want to make sure we thank Attorney Hennius for making sure we don't break the law at all here tonight. So being that there are no other matters of business before this body, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Testa and Ms. Hazelwood, seconded by Mr. Wiggins. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We are adjourned at 7:43.
Thank you, everyone.